Hey everybody, and welcome back to Fresh Set. I'm Sabrina,
And I'm Kevin.
and we're here with the last of the first
Yes.
European triple header,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
which was the Spanish Grand Prix, the last one in Barcelona. Which I mean, I know
Well,
we've kind of been talking about it probably going back and forth, and I don't think it will. The contract with Madrid
you
is to
don't think so?
no,
I
the
think it might.
contract. The contract in Madrid is till 2035. They're not going to spend all this money doing all this infrastructure, which hasn't really started, by the way, to then just come back to Barcelona in 2 years. I don't think it's doing it.
I think they're going to see how it goes with Madrid because there's already been problems and hard enough to
Yeah.
get financial backing. I don't think
Yeah.
it's out of there completely yet. I don't think it's a done deal that this is just going to be the one race to rule them all. I know Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings reference there, but yeah, no, I think I don't know. I think they're going to see how it goes because I think it's still a little iffy with Madrid.
Yeah. I mean, they've barely started
Yeah,
construction.
yeah,
So, but, anyways, we're not talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
Madrid
yeah,
today. We're talking about Barcelona.
yeah.
So,
But before we
uh,
get into it,
yeah. Yeah.
there you
Good
go.
call.
See,
Um, don't forget to follow us on social media at Fresh Set Podcast, and then wherever you stream or get your podcasts, and YouTube, all at Fresh Set Podcast. Like, follow, share, subscribe, all of the things. It really helps us out. But now we can get into
now
it.
we can get into it.
Now we can get into it. So, yeah, this is the last of this first triple header, the European, starting to see Europe. Um, then we have a week off, then we go to Montreal, and then back to Europe.
Yeah,
And that's it. So I thought it was a good race overall.
I thought it was a good race, and I don't know why I always forget. And the Spanish, I guess Barcelona, whatever. But it reminds me of, and I don't know why I didn't think about this before. Have you ever looked at like the overhead from Madrid? Not Madrid, excuse me, Barcelona. It looks like a bull. Like it looks like those two bull horns and say they head or whatever. That's how I kind of picture that
Oh
thing.
no, I never noticed it.
It had 66 laps, 14 turns. I'm like, why is there so little turns? They are the longest turns in on the calendar, I think. There's a
Yeah,
lot of long turns, and
yeah.
everything's going in either a 45 or a 90 degree, or we're taking long routes all the way around this track. There's one DRS. There's that long main straight. I don't remember if there's a second DRS, but
I can't remember. I can't even recall from the race like seeing another
yeah, I just know there's the,
like
the
another
main
spot where they're
straight,
open.
and then I just recalling the track. I don't think there's even there might have been an opportunity right out of the first one for a DRS zone, but I think it's only the one DRS.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of turns. Everybody's just constantly going left and right.
Well, and for a track that has so many turns, it's a fast track. Like
Yeah,
qualifying is like into the 111s. I don't think anybody did 110. But it's a fast considering we have some tracks that are a 132 or a
yeah,
128.
yeah,
It's a fast track. And when you have a lot of corners, there's bound to be braking.
yeah.
So if they're still doing a minute 11, uh, then they're not braking as much as they do.
Well, no, and I think that's why they have such long turns because you can only
Yeah.
you can go down to third or fourth gear and still take that turn.
At 120 kilometers
Whatever.
an
Yeah,
hour.
yeah.
Yeah. But so as we know, we start with free practice on Friday
Friday.
and Saturday morning. Nothing really to report. I know we had lots of juicy details about the Monaco free practice, but that's where we see the most excitement, really.
Yeah.
So, but this weekend, nothing to write home about.
No, most
Um,
of the questions, even in media day, were about how do we make Monaco better. It was not even about Barcelona,
yeah,
and we didn't see any of that. It was really uneventful for the
yeah.
first
Everybody just
day
drove.
and 2.5 days. Yeah,
Yeah, everybody just drove. And then going into quali. So Q1, everybody's running pretty normally. It seemed like there was a lot of traffic. And I know it's 20 cars on track, but I feel like, and again, maybe because it's a quick track, nobody really had a free air unless there was people in the pits. If everybody was
yeah.
out, it was like impossible for people to do a fast lap. Um, Getting close to the end of the session, Q1 session, though, we see Colapinto's car. They're all lined up to go back out for, one or two more runs. Which they always line up and then wait so they can get a bit of a gap, and then the next person goes and whatever in the pit lane. And Colapinto's just not moving,
Yeah,
not moving, not moving,
and
not moving.
he's at the beginning of the queue.
Yeah, he's the
Yeah,
first one. And he eventually gets on the radio and says, the car won't move.
yeah,
I don't know what to do. But at this point, he's held people for at least a minute,
yeah, probably.
maybe
Yeah, yeah,
two.
yeah.
People start overtaking him, which they are allowed to do if his
When there
car
was a
has
problem,
broken
yeah,
down.
yeah. There
Yeah,
was that early report that came in, or
yeah,
I guess the radio message.
yeah. That they were allowed to
He
do
was able to
that.
creep up a little bit to let, I think it was Sainz or Albon was right behind him, let him
Yeah,
through.
yeah.
Otherwise, he would have been stuck and waiting to reverse, so he would have gone out last.
Yeah. And then he eventually got out of the pit lane and pulled over. But
I think he actually got through. I think he went on he was stopped in the pit lane, and I don't know if he actually made it on like a limping out lap and then just pulled into the pit lane on his way back, or
yeah.
I don't know, because it was near the end. So either way,
Yeah, it was really by the time we saw him do anything, it was
which was get out of the
quali
car. Yeah,
was done.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But actually, yeah, when we finally saw him, it was
He's
him
getting out
out
of the
of the
car at
car.
the pit lane. Yeah, at the end of the pit lane.
Yeah. So Q1 we see Yuki Tsunoda in 20th, which again, number one, we've seen him again in 20th, and they end up taking a whatever they wanted to change on the car that just said, we're going to start from the pit lane, which is again like how many times?
Poor Yuki couldn't even beat the Colapinto, who didn't even have a running car.
The car didn't start.
He couldn't even beat him.
Yeah. With the one lap that Colapinto had done was apparently faster than the second
5/100ths of a second faster.
Crazy.
Regardless, it's
but so yeah, I mean, I have a hot take about the Red Bull seat, but we'll get into that later. So we see from 16th we have Hulk, Ocon, Sainz, Colapinto, and Tsunoda.
Yes.
Out in Q1.
Sainz just failing in his home race.
Yeah, Williams in general kind of had a bad weekend.
But particularly in qualifying,
Sainz,
he was he
and
they were victims a little bit in the race.
Yeah.
But in qualifying, he just couldn't put anything together. I don't know what happened. There was nothing to show that he wasn't, that he made some large mistake. He couldn't put the lap together.
Yeah. Q2. We see from, I guess, what is that? 11th to 15. We have Albon, Bortoleto, shock.
I don't know where.
His Sauber was just flying all weekend, really. He was putting up some really, really good times for his car, for what we know he's dealing with. And then, I mean, even before, not necessarily just for his car, early on laps that he was doing, he was kind of getting close to where some of the top runners, the front runners, were, the times that they were doing as well.
Yeah, I mean, he was looking good even in free practice. So yeah.
He kept going further down. But, Albon, Bortoleto, Lawson, Stroll, and Bierman. all out in Q2. And then we go on to Q3, which is kind of a mess. Like, there's just so much happening. The people that are involved, which again is the McLarens, the Ferraris, Max, both Mercedes.
Yeah.
And then we've got Gasly, Hadjar, and Alonso.
Right at the end.
Right at the end. And they're just kind of going... I think it was mostly Piastri and Norris, I guess, were kind of doing the jockeying.
Well, I remember it was their last run. Piastri puts up that time where he puts up at the 1:11.546.
Yeah.
And then you see Lewis just put himself into second out of nowhere. And that's where I text you. I'm like, wow, he's running pretty good. And then he just gets dropped and dropped and dropped.
Yeah.
And dropped. Like Max comes in, Russell comes in, Norris comes in, and they just keep dropping him back. He does get a respectful fifth.
Yeah.
Higher than his teammate.
When I saw Lewis go second, I was like, who? Because Max had gone, or Max was on a lap.
Max was on a lap.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, Max is probably going to be faster. I didn't think 3 more people were going to then.
Well, at that point, yeah, Norris hadn't put up a time yet, and Russell hadn't put up his time yet. So he got there, and I thought it was going to be good. I mean, he was still.
I thought he was good.
Actually, if I look at the time now, he is still half a second slower.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Than Piastri. I didn't look at it at that point. I just looked at the positions.
Yeah. And then we have Russell and Verstappen actually put up the exact same time. Down to milliseconds.
Yeah.
But because Verstappen went first, he completed his run first. That's why he came out ahead in third and Russell in fourth.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Hamilton to be in fifth, like, pretty good. Leclerc was down in seventh.
Yeah, not a great time. Great
quality for him. And I mean, this is Lewis hasn't out qualified Leclerc I'm not going to say a lot. Not very much this season. So.
Well, he did do the sprint quali.
Yeah,
for sure, the one he won.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. There might have been like one
or two more that he may have out.
And I don't even know if it's 2, but yeah.
A couple more. But so then we're set for Antonelli's 6th, I guess.
6th, yeah.
So Russell is Hamilton is sandwiched between his old teammate and his old car.
Yeah.
But
a big freaking thing for me, like all weekend and the qualifying, was just McLaren's dominance on track. It was in free practice. There was a McLaren on top, whether there were one or the other, and it wasn't both until FP3. But there was either one. It was once was Lando, one was Piastri, then it was Piastri and Lando, or either way, it was 1-2 in free practice 3, and then they just dominated the top at this. Like, they weren't even close. I think Max was 1/10 from Lando, who's 3/10 off the pace of Piastri. It wasn't even. There was no chance.
Yeah, no, not really. And then we shortly after quali.
Hour,
yeah, because I got to your house and all that.
Yeah, there's a couple hours. Yeah.
Couple hours later, we hear that Lance Stroll is not going to be racing in the Spanish Grand Prix. That he has a wrist issue, so much so that he was actually going to be having a procedure for it.
Yeah.
Which 2 years ago he had a really bad bicycle accident. He fell off a bicycle.
Yeah.
2.5 weeks before the season started, had major wrist surgery on both, and we're now hearing that the issues are related to that
previous injury or previous surgery or whatever.
Yeah. So he wasn't, and so McLaren, not McLaren, Aston Martin, because they didn't switch him out to their reserve driver before quali.
Yeah,
they don't have
if
a
he
car.
because Stroll put up a qualifying time, it does not allow them to switch their drivers. If they
Yeah.
had, if I mean, you're running a multi-million-dollar operation here. Now, is it
Yes.
Stroll not saying anything, or is there the issue and he says, "I think I can go," and then put up a quality time? You have to make if you're running, you're billionaires. You're putting in hundreds of millions of dollars every year.
Yeah.
Make this decision before quality. You do not have the luxury when the midfield is so close
No.
of not having a second racer. So if it was known that he had an issue or he was hurt or discomfort and he wasn't sure if he was going to go, if there's that iffy kind of feeling before
Yeah.
quality, then you're not running in quality. We need a
Yeah.
second car.
Yeah. I said this to you. I do think that they knew he was feeling some sort of discomfort. And the only reason I said that was because I did notice a couple times during free practice and during the quali sessions, they panned over to the Aston Martin pit wall and Dragovich is sitting there. And
Yeah.
it's not that he's not usually there. It's just you don't usually see Aston Martin's pit wall.
Yeah.
So the fact that they kept showing him, I'm like, I feel like someone knows something
Yeah.
is going on. Like if we saw the Haas, like Haas's reserve driver, I'd be like, something's when Ricardo was driving and they kept showing Liam. Yeah. Like there's something going on.
It's like it was very quick that we heard that he wasn't driving. He wasn't because of this wrist issue, and then he was going to have a procedure to correct it. So he didn't get to a doctor, or he maybe got to the medical team there, but it was obviously something the medical team and their team was monitoring actively.
Yeah,
knowing that this is a possibility. So if you know it's that bad where he might need a procedure, don't even run him. Don't even run him.
And to be honest, it actually makes more sense to sub him this weekend. That will now give him more time for recovery. Maybe he'll be back for Canada. It's 2.5 weeks before the next race.
All reports are kind of leaning toward he might not be ready.
Right. Well, but I think him running quali probably made whatever the issue was worse.
Of course.
The strain on your wrist. Yeah. So he could have done free practice, was like, yeah, you know what, this hurts. Let me just scoot on out of here and go have some surgery. Put someone else in the car. Maybe get some extra points for the team. But we don't own the team, so what do we know?
His father does. I respect the fact that you get in there and you race.
Yeah, well, yeah, right.
Stop your bitching.
Yeah. What do we know?
No allowance for you. I'm keeping that $1 million this week.
Honestly. So we have the race start. It is a great start for almost everybody except George Russell.
Yeah. Oh, and at this point, we find out that, not that it really matters, but Yuki Tsunoda is starting from the pit lane.
Right. So yeah, only 18 cars on the grid.
Yeah.
Positions, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, it's a great start for everybody except for George Russell.
It was actually not that great of a start for even Lewis Hamilton because you see right. But well, yes, but if you when you watch the replay back, he has a slow start so much so that Leclerc, who's right behind him, has to immediately dart into the middle and almost takes out Gasly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Gasly.
I think it was Gasly.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, yeah, okay.
No, Antonelli's ahead of him, so
let's move away out of the way for the pretty boy.
Yeah.
Can't get his hands dirty.
Obviously. But you can see very quickly with Lewis's car, though, that, again, whatever happened at the beginning, he got a lucky start. He was able to get ahead of Russell really quickly. Everybody else was as well. But very quickly, you can see that Charles' car is looking like the better car.
Yeah.
And then, though, we get some really good racing by the Ferraris that they're having to fight, and there's oversteering and they're kind of dodging each other. and kind of going out and coming back in front of each other. So I mean, good racing between the two of them. Um, Charles did try to overtake a couple of times, and Lewis with great defending.
But Lewis was also considerably slower. Like he was,
Yeah,
you could
yeah,
see he was holding up his teammate. It wasn't
yeah,
just going to work out.
yeah. So much so that Ferraris eventually was like, "Okay, you guys had
You
your
got to
fun.
switch. Yeah.
We don't have time for you guys to do this." So he let's did he let him by?
He
Yeah,
let him
he did
by.
let him
He
by.
did let him by.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
because
let him
they
by.
did ask him. Yeah.
Yep, he did ask him.
And then Lewis kind of sits in, what is it, fifth, I guess, for the rest of the race, really.
Fifth, yes.
Is that where
yes.
he finished? Yeah.
No, he finished in sixth.
In sixth, where he's kind of sat in that
he,
area.
I mean, he finished in
for a little.
seventh, and then we'll get into why he's sixth.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was good to see a little bit of speed. But question for you. After this weekend, this is what, 9th race?
Something like that. Yeah, race
something
9.
like that. You are Lewis. You think you are the money, the money driver. You are the name, the championships. You possibly think you're the number one. From these 9 races.
Okay.
Are you realizing you are not Ferrari's number one priority?
Oh, 100%. Yes. 100%. I think that he is.
I gave you the sprint.
I think he is known that he is not Ferrari's number one for a couple of races. I think you could go back to pretty early on, probably 2 or 3 races after that sprint race. So what is that?
Yeah.
Maybe the start of Europe, maybe even Miami, where you're not. I don't think they care. Yes, he is the money. He is the money in the name, but he's not the money when it comes to the driver. Charles is driving that car. However, they changed the car, if they did, for Lewis's, when they changed the suspension setup and whatever. It just seems like, I mean, how can you have your number one driver being consistently on the radio week after week? Just all it is about complaints. If something doesn't go right for you right away, it's, the race is basically over. I mean, we've seen this from time and time again. I was hoping that the move to Ferrari was going to change it, but he seems to be falling back into that. And I don't know. He's definitely not the number one. And I think I think the Ferrari mechanics are going to start to be a little annoyed and done with the attitude. Yeah, and even the fans, really.
I mean, I think Italian fans will turn on you real quick.
Yeah.
But he's got to realize, and I don't even think it's anything that Charles doing. I don't think it's anything that the team is doing outright. I don't think they're manipulating Lewis's car to be the worst car at all. I don't think that's it. He's just. They're Leclerc started 2 positions behind him, but his car was better. So they said, hey, switch. But I know for me, that would bother me. It's like, okay, we're on the first lap. Give me a second to try and show you. But it was so obvious. I don't think early.
I don't think in a race like this where McLaren has been so dominant, you don't have that extra lap to try and figure it out. If you're not running, if you're holding up our other driver who's clearly faster, get out of the way. Figure it out on your own after that.
Well, and I mean, a little bit of a spoiler, but this weekend, Ferrari has jumped Mercedes. So Ferrari is now in second for the drivers.
Spoiler alert. I know you said it, but come on.
But I think they know they're not winning. They're not winning drivers at all. They're not winning.
No, I think both championships are wrapped up. Not that I think that the McLaren one, it's a McLaren driver is going to be the driver championship, and McLaren is going to win the constructors. There's no way. It would have to be a monumental collapse or a miracle Hail Mary in upgrades in cars for this to be even a 2 or 3 horse race.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think Ferrari's just like second place in the constructors. Let's take that.
Yeah.
So they're just going to go with the car that's going to get them the most points. I mean, Lewis is still getting points. Lewis is still
Yeah.
there. It's just if we can get Charles further up the road and get him to pass the Russells, the Maxes, the Norrises, whatever, we're going to do it.
Right.
But it sucks that I feel like Lewis is starting to really feel it at this point.
Well,
And it's like,
how could he not? I mean, he made this whole big. He set the F1 world, motorsport world, on fire
yeah,
by announcing this whole move to Ferrari before last season even started.
yeah,
And then all of a sudden, Mercedes starts to come on a little, at least with George last year. And now you have a rookie who is usually consistently on par
yeah,
with Lewis in a Ferrari, right?
yeah,
And then you have George, who's also running really well most days.
yeah,
And he's got to be looking at that like, did I make the wrong decision? Am I, everybody wants to race for Ferrari, but he still obviously still wants to win. I think where Lewis is failing, it's where we see, and we've talked about it all the time, where Lando seems to have setbacks. It's a mental thing for him. It's
yeah.
not the car. It's
Yeah.
not being able to push what you want out of it because you have this mental block.
Well, and it's funny that you say that because I think one of the things that I noticed with Lewis, with a lot of his radios, especially when he was still at Mercedes as well, the last couple years, um, is a lot of his questions to his engineer and previously Bono as well was, how are these guys so fast?
Yeah.
Why are they so fast? And a valid question. Let's have that off. That's an off track conversation. We don't need to be having that in the middle of the race. Just drive.
And to me, like, who cares why they're fast? But
Yeah.
most of the time, when you're seeing guys who, when we saw it last year, by the end of the year, it wasn't that Max was so fast. Everybody else caught up, but it was conviction. It was his conviction is what
Yeah.
kept him winning races.
Yeah.
Right? It's not, he made that car fast. He made however he races, which is what Lewis used to have.
Yeah.
And he doesn't seem to have that anymore.
No, and like even I think it was Monaco. He was asking like, "Am I a minute behind?" Or it doesn't matter right
Who cares?
now. Like you're not
in the race.
You're not within DRS. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like you're not within 5 seconds. You know that the person behind you isn't within 5 seconds.
It feels like I'm in the dugout with all the kids at baseball, and everybody's asking me at a tournament, what's the score? Who cares? You're gonna go up there. You're gonna bat. You want to get 3 outs? You get 3 outs. I don't care what the score is. Do what you got to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll figure it all at the end.
Yeah. I mean, these are quite young kids, but
it's the same mentality. It's get the job done. Worry about where you finish at the end.
Focus on the job. Yeah. Anyways, we just had a Lewis rant there.
I like it.
So,
I haven't had it in a while.
Yeah. So lap 13, we see Lando come in. Or no, Lando gets Max, I think. Yeah, Lando gets Max, who had moved up into second place at that point. But there was no fighting from Max. And then the next lap, we know it's because Max was just about to go into the pits anyway. So no point in cooking.
And he knew that wasn't his race anyways. The McLarens are too fast. He wasn't going to get him.
Yeah.
Why risk something that wasn't worth it?
Yeah.
I mean, he could. I saw it. I thought too. I'm like, he could have defended a little bit. Don't make it easy.
Yeah.
Like he didn't even move. He didn't kind of make him make a move.
No.
Because you never know. You make him make that move. Maybe he ends up on the gravel. Maybe he has an incident where he's out of the race, or he's pushed back a couple places at least.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Make him work for it a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. You're coming into the pits. You're changing the tires. Make him work a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, I did message you as well because it's rare that we see Max come in first. He doesn't, he spent so many seasons being the leader and out front and what have you. But even when could be undercut at a track, he doesn't really come in first. He doesn't fall into that. He just races his race.
Well, I think
he does come in for the undercut today.
Yeah, I think that's that mentality thing where he knows he's not the fastest. There's no point, so he's going to try whatever. Now it's going to go to strategy because all the driving and all the engineering is not going to do it for you in this one.
Yeah, yeah. So So that's lap 14, pretty early, but they're on softs. Everybody's on softs, so we know that the pits are going to be. We're not going to have 30 plus tires or
No.
30 plus laps with these tires. The McLarens end up pitting at lap 23, and they pit Oscar. And he has a great pit stop, which he's been having some pretty bad pit stops. But Max's undercut works.
Yeah.
And yes, he's now on his tires are 9 laps ahead or 10 laps
almost
ahead.
10, yeah.
But it works, and he takes the lead, and it was by quite a bit.
Yeah, a couple hundredths of a second, probably. Yeah.
But I
Maybe
mean,
more.
they're coming right out onto a corner, and then Max has already made the corner, and he's gone.
He's out.
So, Albon and Liam had lots of fighting. Alex Albon, Liam Lawson.
Yeah.
Pushing back and forth, the two of them.
Yeah, and it looked. I kind of came around on Liam at first. I mean, he was fighting, and he was fighting fair. He had the corner pushing up. I mean, you had a little bit of a different opinion than I did when he came around the second time. I thought it was still his corner, and then Albon had the room to stay out there and make the move. He didn't have to go into the runoff or take the damage that he did. Sorry, that was the second corner. And then we see Liam just beat Liam again, like 4 laps later. Yeah, like it was on Ocon. No, Behrman. Making a lunge that he had no business making, and then touching. Like, what are you doing? You were having a great race. You were fighting really well, and then you went to be a dick again. And what are you doing?
Yeah,
like, can you help yourself?
No, not at all. Albon with the dust up with Liam, though. Albon gets some pretty bad damage, and he had damage earlier on and had to change his wing. And then with this dust up with Liam,
breaks the wing
multiple
again.
Dust up, he breaks the wing again, and that you could just tell the car slowed right down. So much so that Williams says, "Come in to retire the car," but before he gets into the pit, he gets a penalty, and it's a 10-second penalty
for causing a collision.
So when
which validated me when we were talking, because you said it wasn't his fault. Yeah, you know what? I think it was. But whatever. I'm keeping mental score in my
head. So Williams says, "You know what? We were going to retire the car, but we're going to do a 10-second penalty. We're not going to touch you at all.
Because then they're going to take that.
Go do another lap."
Yeah. Because if he did, he would take that in Canada or a different sort of penalty.
Yeah, the penalty would go on to Canada. If you didn't take it in Canada, then I think they get the fine. But
yes,
so they're like, let's just. They didn't want to waste another wing.
We're retiring.
Wing.
Yeah, and I had asked you. I'm like, I wonder if they actually have parts available to them anymore. Which, I mean, they usually carry 2 other wings as backups, but I don't know if they had a third one, and would they have a third one ready for Canada?
I don't know.
You know, are we running into the same problem we saw last year, where they just couldn't run a car because they didn't have enough parts?
Yeah. Well, I think the difference this year is that a lot of the accidents that have happened to them are not their fault.
Well, this one was Albon's fault.
Well, this one was.
This was confirmed by the FIA.
The damage.
Yeah.
But
personally.
To you directly.
Personally, yes.
They called you, said, "Kevin, you're right."
Yeah. Actually, they called me. They asked me for recommendation. Do I think it was? And I said, yes, it was. Absolutely.
During the race, obviously.
Yeah. I am their at-home steward.
Oh, God. Imagine. Anyways. So now we're getting to like lap 47. Lewis stops. Is it Lewis? And then he had an issue with his front left. Lewis or Lando? No, McLaren had really good stops. It must have been Lewis.
McLaren, yeah.
McLaren had good stops today. He just had a tire that wouldn't go on. And then we start to see people getting lapped. And this is lap 47 of 66. So people are getting lapped, and there is not a lot of room around this track. And you have Lando and Max pretty close
Separated by
together.
one or two lapped cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the lapped cars are just in the way. So much so that we have lapped cars battling for their positions of, 15th and 16th
Yep.
or
Yeah.
15th and 14th. They're not even paying attention to the blue flags that are being waved to let, the front runners through, that it kind of pushes Lando into Max, but also messes up when Lando gets past, Max can't get past.
Yes. So and this was on an S, or kind of like there was one
Yeah.
corner right after the other, and Lando gets right past them, and they start fighting. So
Yeah.
again, Max complains quite a bit about what these effing
Yeah.
idiots doing.
Yeah.
What do you expect them to do on the corner? Because they know they're going to try. One, they're trying to get past their rival is trying to get past
Yeah.
because you just let Lando past.
Yeah.
Right? They're trying to keep their position. I know they're supposed to move over off the racing line, but it's not the optimal place for them to do it for you. So
No.
what are you complaining about?
Yeah. And I will defend. We heard Max's radio.
Yeah.
We did not hear Oscar or Lando's radio about that scenario. And it's funny though, we had Nico Rosberg being our Martin Brundle of the weekend. And he was like, I'm sure Lando's saying the same thing on his radio, like these guys aren't getting out of the way. But yeah, I mean, there's nowhere for them to really go.
At that point,
they can only let really one of you go at a time. And this was the first time that I've always kind of liked the blue flags. You don't care for them.
I don't.
Martin Brundle, Crofty, they don't like them.
I don't necessarily care for them.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to pass, make a pass. That's what racing is. You got to defend.
This was my first weekend that I was like, I understand why people don't like the blue flag.
Yeah. I mean, they have a race too.
Yeah,
they have a race too. And if I'm that one racing, I'm that one in front. I'm not going to allow my rival behind me to pass me because I'm letting somebody else pass. I'm giving them an opportunity to do it. And now I don't have that apex for some reason because they're falling close behind the front runner. Sorry, no.
Yeah, but I do understand how it could be unfair, and not necessarily in this scenario, but like how unfair it could be of someone like I'm just going to pick on Colapinto because he had issues with his car earlier. If his car, something happens to his and he has now ruined someone in the front. Like I do get that part as well. Like,
but you already have okay, this one only has one DRS one, but you go to something like Australia too. These cars that are lapping, I mean, we lapped up to, before we had the incident at the end of the race, they were lapped up to 10, 11, 11th place.
Yeah.
Your cars are running so much faster that by the time you get down onto that back straight, or the main straight, you've got that DRS, you're blowing past them. Okay, so you don't pass them right away, but you have opportunities to pass, and they're not hard opportunities.
Yeah.
So if you can't get through them on a series of corners, suck it up. Shut up. Like, get rid of the blue flags. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Let them defend. They're racers.
It comes into play really in a scenario like what happened today with Max hunting Lando getting stuck, Lando being able to get through, Max getting stuck, and then having to wait for the corner to finish and people to finish fighting. And I mean, what are you going to do if you come up behind them and they're in the middle of an overtake? You can't tell them to stop.
No, then it's dangerous.
Yeah, they've got to do what they've got to do. And I think at that point it was Liam, Ollie, and Alonso were all Ollie Bierman, like all of them were just there. So it is what it is. Lap 55.
Which all of them ended up fighting for points. So it's a very consequential moment.
Yeah. Lap 55, there's a safety car. Kimi loses power unit power unit failure again in that
Yeah.
Mercedes. Last week it was George's. This weekend it was Kimmy's. He's able to get the car, not able. The car goes onto the gravel, but far enough onto the track. There's no real debris on track. It's more just getting the car out of the way.
Yeah.
Where it was, and it was a full safety car.
Full safety car.
McLaren do a double stack, which wasn't a perfect double stack, but it was good enough.
Max also comes
and
in.
Max comes in. Yes, he comes in when Piastri comes in. Yeah.
So Piastri comes in first. Max comes in right behind him. Lando's behind Max.
Yeah.
And so
then everything goes tits up at this point.
Oh,
Everything changes
just
at this point.
Okay, so for everybody that's listening, for my frustration here, they pit Oscar and Lando into old softs.
Mm-hmm.
Charles has already been through, and he's on a set of softs that's 6 laps old at this point.
Yeah.
And then Max pits for a brand new set of hards. Now they don't ask him.
He didn't know. Yeah.
They didn't ask him. They just put on their hards. And then as soon as he gets going and he sees that white line, he's like, what the F is on? Like, why are we doing this? He's like, well, these are hard tires. Thanks. I can see it. Why am I using hards? Like, that's all that's available to us, which is not true. He still has he's already changed compound. He's already past the regulation point. He can put in a used set of softs. Now, at this point, it's lap 56, 57.
Yeah,
something like that.
56, 57, yeah.
They're getting rid of
66.
They're getting rid of the cars. You know that there's back markers. They're probably going to get away. You can estimate at minimum 3 laps behind a safety car. Mm-hmm. So that's going to put you at 66. So you got 7 laps to go unused softs, right? It ended up being 4, I believe. 4 laps.
Yeah, the safety car went in on lap 60.
Yeah. Lap 60. So we have 7 laps left of racing. Why put on a brand new set of hards, which take longer to get to temperature, which you've got to scrub them. You don't have that much time, like especially behind a safety car. You don't have the speed that's going to get the temperature into the tires. Put on the softs. Everybody else is on a soft. What are you doing? You have Charles behind you.
He also didn't pit not all that long because he did a 3-stop. This was actually his 4th set of tires. So he hadn't pitted all that long ago.
No.
So his tires were just warming up, and they're going to cool down a little bit during the safety car. But he was still on mediums, I think, at that point.
He was on the mediums. At this point, I don't know why he actually switched at all.
I have no idea. They called him in, and he went in.
With the 4 laps on those tires, he could have made it to the end.
Yeah, and I mean, he was asked about it at the end, and he said, "I don't know why that was the call." That was his honest answer. He said, especially with 6 laps left.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, do you stay out and then risk the people being caught from the person in second and they're going to come out? Or do you go in and then you risk 4th? If my option is hards, leave me out and I'll
That's what I mean. If I'm Red Bull and I'm looking at, the only option I have is to put them on a brand new set of hards behind a safety car. No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's either switch to soft or stay out.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a team that's so good with strategy, they completely and they caused they caused the
Red
most
Bull
drama
fell apart
of the weekend.
They called up Ferrari and was like, how do you guys do your strategy? Because we want to copy that.
We want to be the talk of the rest of the week. Next 2 weeks.
Yeah. And so it's lap 59, I think, and we hear that there's going to be another lap with the safety car. Lewis gets on and he's like, they love just wasting laps, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's true. Like I know they needed the back markers to catch up because someone was in 10th. Liam was up to 10th.
It had to do with points, So I had to wait for them to
that
catch
person
all
to
the way
catch
up.
up.
Yeah.
But and then we have a race restart. Oscar gets away really well. Oscar does a mighty brake checking of his own teammate. Almost made
Yeah, like there
Lando
was almost a
rear-end
pile
him.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. Almost rear-ended. Lando almost rear-ended Oscar. Max almost rear-ended Lando.
Yeah.
Charles could have won the race if those three had, gone out. But the race restart is good for Oscar. Takes off. Lando and Max, little bit of a tussle. And then,
because Max comes across the last corner and on his brand new set of hards, completely loses the car. Completely, like he's sliding all over the place, so much so that Charles almost hits him in the back, and then has to make sure he doesn't pass him before they get to the start line.
Yeah. And then Oscar, the McLarens are gone at this point.
Yeah, they're gone.
And then we see Charles and Max come side by side, and Charles taps Max.
I don't think it is. See, I mean, Max says he hit me. I didn't see it that way. I think they're both on the line and they happen to touch.
So Charles explained it after. He said he knew what Max was doing. Max was pushing him to the dirty side.
Yeah.
He was pushing him to the dirty side of the track so that Charles would pick up
marbles,
debris.
Yeah.
And so Charles was like, I pushed him back and I hit him. And
they came together.
It came together. It didn't hit him directly.
No, they get a little tap. It's fine.
Yeah. Max starts to completely lose it.
Yeah.
Meltdown. This is like, he's screaming about it. He pushed me. They go around, I guess, one more corner, and then Russell catches up to the back of this scenario. Charles takes off in third. And then George kind of pushes Max wide.
Yeah. Which he takes the runoff.
Max takes the runoff, gets back on track ahead. George did bump him a little bit though. Like it's very slight.
No, he pushed him off the track, but Max had the apex.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah, he did. And it's been confirmed that he did. And the stewards have said, and Red Bull very quickly calls to Max and says, hey, give the position back. Which makes Max
angry.
Absolutely lose it even
because
more.
he's right. And even if you don't think, like, you have to back your driver 100%. We've seen it even when they're in the wrong, where they go to great lengths to back Max. This one, they came up with this weird strategy call against Russell, to give it back. Why would you? To me, I mean, obviously Max made the wrong decision. To me, I'm not going to give it back. He wants it. He can take it back from me. But
and Max does look like he's slowing down to give the position back. Mm-hmm. And George comes up beside him, and when George gets beside him, Max is like, all right, just kidding.
Speeds up and hits him.
Rams into the side of him. Although I would say perfectly placed, because he didn't hit the side pod.
No, they're
at
tires.
All. He hit
no,
the tires.
Tires. He knew exactly what he was doing. Yeah. Tire. Least likely for some kind of damage or puncture. And it was the funny thing, it's funnier because it's George.
Yeah.
But it was more of an FU to Red Bull.
Yeah.
Not George. I think George is just the consequence. It was just the victim of it.
Yeah. I mean, and for a while though, Max was still yelling about Charles, and like Charles was fine. Like you guys, that was long done. Yeah. I think he was pissed about George, and then he was pissed about Red Bull telling him what to do with the scenario and whatever. So it just kind of made him go crazy. Hamilton really struggling to the point that Hülkenberg passes him.
Yeah.
Who is in a stake Sauber car. And he gets up into sixth.
Yeah. Oh, he gets into sixth, yeah.
He gets up into sixth. And again, we're running little time left at this point. Max's tires are not heating up the way that they need to be. And it just ends. And right as they're crossing the finish line, we see Max is going to be hit with a 10-second penalty. So Oscar wins. Yay, Oscar. Yeah. Lando comes second. So McLaren 1-2 again. Charles gets third, which is only his second podium of the season.
And for the last seven laps of it, Charles finished 10 seconds behind Piastri. 10 in 7 laps.
Crazy. Yeah. So, and then Max
finished in fourth.
He did.
He finished in fourth.
Yeah. But he gets the 10-second penalty, which drops him down to 10th. He stayed in the points.
So we got a point. Yeah,
he got a point.
I think he would much rather just total the car than get a point.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there's a lot of things that people are going to defend Max. People are going to what have you. This was just bad. You can't run. I'll
defend his anger. I'll defend his need to tell his team to go F themselves.
Yeah.
Not this way.
No.
Not this way. No.
And I think it was so shocking to everybody. But how calm George was. George was just like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And his radio was like, not clue, dude. No clue, dude. We have no idea what just happened. And that was it. Like and even George's interviews after, he was just like, I can't really explain what.
Yeah, they told me he was going to give me the spot back, and I was going to pass, and which is again, that's why George was just the victim. It was just all directed red, which
misdirected anger.
Listen, if Max wants to say, you know what, let's let the stewards decide what's going to happen, he should have just done that, and then that should have been his fuck you to Red Bull.
And now we have heard that because the stewards were investigating George pushing Max off, and they were saying because Max gained a position, and they investigated it, and everybody could see George pushed him off, and so when Red Bull tells him to give the spot back, Max is of course furious. Nico Rosberg is furious, like no, he doesn't need to give the spot back, and we now know that the stewards have said that they would have said the same thing. Max wouldn't have had to give the spot back. So
just salt in the wound.
Yeah. I think bad day for him. So on top of the 10-second penalty, he has also received 3 penalty points against his license, which brings him to 11 out of 12 penalty points. If he gets to 12, he's going to miss a race.
Yeah, it's suspended for a race.
And that means he cannot make a misstep at all for the next year. But
I feel like he'll do it intentionally at some point. I feel like he'll just do it just to say, whatever. He's going to be his displeasure again. Will just be
start fresh. Yeah, I think the options were for him to get disqualified or like these penalty points or both or whatever, but I think they just decided on the penalty points. He can keep his one.
I'm surprised he didn't get a disqualification.
Yeah, I'm surprised with the disqualification too, but they probably were like, okay, we'll just do this, and he's like, great, have a good night.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, good race in general. And what's so interesting is Max was actually having a good race. We were seeing a lot of his strategy. We were seeing a lot of Red Bull strategy pre-lap 55, pre-Antonelli crashing.
Yeah.
You were seeing McLaren actually stress about what Max was doing, what their strategy may have been. They were kind of doing like a dummy, like maybe we're going to do a 2-stop, maybe it'll be a 3. Bernie Collins is trying to do the math on the tires to see like so they were really stressing out McLaren for sure. And then
the Red Bull
he lost, but I do blame Red Bull.
It's right. 100%.
I do blame Red Bull for that one. But speaking of Red Bull, I said I had a hot take about Red Bull. So much so. Then this kind of started with Yuki
Do I think
Tsunoda.
I know where you're going with this?
I don't
Anyways,
know.
go
This started with Yuki Tsunoda finishing in 20th.
on.
And I think Max qualified what? Third? Fourth?
Qualify third.
Third. I was so frustrated. I mean, and I'm not even like a Red Bull fan, but I was so frustrated by it that, this is now the third Red Bull driver in the last year, because I'm counting Perez, that has not come close to a teammate. And yes, Perez used to get close to Max.
Yeah.
What is wrong with the Red Bull car? Like, there has to be something
Oh,
wrong. So much so.
you're going tinfoil hat theory.
Not even tinfoil hat, but like I called my dad and I was like, listen, have you ever, in the years that you've watched all the 70s, 80s that you watched Formula One, have you ever seen a discrepancy in drivers like this? And he's like, never, ever. Has it been like one in top 3 and one in 20th? And my dad's not a Red Bull fan either. And he was just like, Perez was the only one that was that close.
Yeah.
And they got rid of him. Something happened, and that there's something.
It was something last year.
But there's something that at this point, if you're building the car around Max, that's no longer working, because now you're not winning drivers and you're not even winning the championship anymore.
No.
So you're a detriment to yourself at this point. So what is it about this Red Bull? I don't even think it's just the seat, it's not a curse, or what is it about the Red Bull car?
Is it the car or is it the environment? Like, we know that it's Max's seat and we know that it's Max's team.
Yeah.
We also know that they have no problem. It's probably the most stressful seat in F1, that second seat at Red Bull. And so you don't know what's going to happen with Helmut Marko and his decision making, and Christian Horner week to week, right? It's conceivable that they said Yuki's in there for the rest of the season, but when we see Isaac Hadjar consistently doing well in qualifying, consistently in the points, in a V-carb, whatever Racing Bulls it is, it has to be playing on Yuki that any little mistake I make and my seat's gone, or I'm getting demoted.
Well, and I know we're never going to see this, and I'm not saying Yuki is a rookie by any means. I'm not, Liam at this point is not a rookie, but it would be interesting to see someone like an Alonso, a Lewis, a Vettel get into that seat. And is it these young guys that just don't know how to pull stuff out of the car, or is it truly the car? Is it a rookie? Is it a driver?
I think if you were to throw something and we saw Lawson is a very emotional person. Mm-hmm. Yuki can be a very emotionally driven person, right?
Yeah.
If they could somehow steal, if you could somehow steal Bottas, and he's no longer the reserve driver, he's in that second seat at Red Bull, I think he would place much better in that, because I don't think he gives a shit. He's just enjoying it. He would be in such a better state mentally and physically than anybody that they have in their system right now at Red Bull.
Yeah. Well,
right. Something in that kind of. Exactly. Yeah. I don't think he gives a shit. It's like, I don't make my money. I'm just going to race, and I'll go around and I'll still get, 10th, 9th, maybe I'll get a 5th or a 6th. And,
Well, and I mean, I know we've heard Lewis in past seasons, and Alonso's joked about it, getting into that Red Bull seat. And, if we were driving it, Max wouldn't be the fastest person on the track or what have you. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, okay, I know when Liam was there, I was like, I can't be driver. But then now and I'm not saying Yuki's doing a bad job, but but is it Yuki? Is it the car, or is it a driver? And if we keep going through drivers, it can't be every single driver that there's something.
Well, I mean, we've heard that the car is difficult to drive.
Yes.
But how much more difficult can it be that you don't have even it's not even close to the same kind of level. We know Max is ultra talented. when it
Yeah.
comes to driving a car. But I mean, really, how hard can it be when you're to be that far apart? I mean,
Yeah, that's what's like driving me crazy is how are they this far? Like last season, I was like, okay, the stress of contract, blah 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 blah. But you have to go back to Perez finishing second and the drivers. Perez was finishing third, fourth, fifth
even
in
last year he
races.
was where did he finish? 7th?
He wasn't that far.
Yeah.
Like so, it's just, and I just think Red Bull if they are making this car around Max, we know Max can drive anything. I think they need to throw that out the window.
Yeah.
They need to make a car that's going to work for whoever is in the second seat.
He finished
And
8th with 152 points, by the way.
Perez.
Yeah, last year.
So, I mean, 8th of 20. 22 probably, actually.
8th of 2022, but he had 152 points. I mean,
Yeah.
at this point, we have, where's Tsunoda? He's got 10. And Liam has got 4, and some of those are in the RB.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I saw just before we started recording that Hulk, who finished in 5th because of Max's demotion to 10th,
Yeah.
just this race alone, he has made more points than the second Red Bull seat.
He's got 16 points.
Yeah.
As of right now.
Between Liam and Yuki, he has more points than the second Red Bull seat. Like, it's just, I don't know, just crazy. Anyways, that's my rant, and I don't know the answer to it, and it's...
I don't think anybody does.
It's almost just, like, frustrating to watch now. Like, it's just... You know, you see occasionally a Hulk, for example. Bortoletto's been in 15th, and then Hulk gets in the points, or you know, someone's in 14th and 20th. That makes a little bit more sense.
With every other team, I don't know if it's the same with you. With every other team, we're looking at where both drivers are.
Yes.
I'm not looking at that with Red Bull.
No.
For some reason, I don't know what it is. Like, I feel like if I see him qualify and he's out in Q1. Okay, I don't care because you're not going to get past 15th or 14th or 30th. You're not even going to sniff the points.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when I see one on the screen, I'm like, oh, there's a Red Bull again. I'm thinking it's Max lapping somebody.
Yeah.
And it's Yuki. I'm like,
oh. In the back. Yeah.
Like, yeah. What?
And we've seen several times Perez come from 20th or 17th and he makes it into 9th or 8th or whatever. He's able to cut through the pack, and this one's just not happening.
Yeah, Yuki did, what did he do? 20th to 10th?
Maybe 10th, yeah.
Wherever that was. Where was Imola, I think it was. But yeah, anyways, that's my rant about Red Bull. Fresh set.
But before we get there, Max got driver of the day.
Oh, he did.
Yes.
This was all before all the drama.
Before that was the voting was done before that happened.
Yeah.
But good for him. You know,
hilarious.
He could have been. He wouldn't have been my driver of the day, but that was driver of the day until that. Yeah. Fresh set and dirtier.
Yeah. You want to go first?
I don't know that I actually. Yeah. I'll have a fresh set. The stakes. We talked about Bortoletto, and it would have been him first, and then Hulk kind of swooped in and took 6th.
Yeah.
Fifth,
I think he ended
up. 6th for like finishing, and then 5th because of the promotion. Yeah. So stakes. I don't know what's happening. They had a great race. Bortoletto seems to be really coming on as a rookie in the worst, conceivably the worst car. So yeah, to me they were something fun to watch this weekend.
I had both of them as well. I mean, I had Bortoletto mostly. It was mostly Bortoletto, and then I saw Hulk finishing in 5th, and I was like, okay, got to give it to him. But it was Bortoletto's speed, and he's pulling something out of the car. We haven't heard too much about him on track in races, but
when he's in the back,
but I mean, now we're seeing him, and we're seeing his speed, and there's notice being taken during free practices and qualies and stuff. So him, but I also had Nico Rosberg. This is our first race with Nico Rosberg being back, and it is comedy gold to have him
great on a grid walk. Like, so like he's got like such a dry sense of humor too.
Yeah,
it was just like and I told you, like, the English soccer team was there, and they talked to
Hmm.
Harry Kane for quite a while. They went to another player, and I don't remember who it was. I don't know if it was Saka or something. And they went to somebody, and they just said, "Nope, I've got nothing to say to you." Just literally bluntly that. He's like, "Well, you're not a very friendly person,"
Yeah.
and they walked away. Just
Well, and I mean, like, they probably have no idea. They barely even know who Brundle is. So they're
yeah,
like, they really don't
they
know
just got
who he
invited
is.
there, and yeah,
But yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, his commentary is honest. It's blunt.
yeah,
Crofty asked him a question. Hey, would you do? No.
yeah, yeah.
Would you have gone? What would you do here? Pass.
He is the most blunt with Crofty, like just like, no, you're wrong,
Yeah.
and it's great because Crofty takes
Yeah.
it, and he's
Yeah, and what I had texted to you was that what's interesting is, we have commentary from Martin Brundle. We have uh, Ted Kravitz, Crofty. Um, these are people that were drivers,
yeah,
but in the old cars.
yeah.
They haven't used, they were using a clutch. There was none of this wheel the way it is now. So it's nice to hear commentary from somebody that has actually driven these newer versions of
Yeah,
the car. And I mean, Rosberg's been out for
since
almost
2016.
2016. Yeah. So
Yeah, he won a
almost
championship and
10
retired.
years. So, but he still knows these cars a little bit better than someone that raced
Oh, and
in the 90s.
you were
So,
watching qualifying, and you saw him. Let's take us on the lap with Alex Albon, and he ripped Albon's lap apart. It wasn't a great
yeah.
lap, and he was right.
No.
And Brundle is blunt, but a little more not political, but a little more on the softer side of the
Yeah.
bluntness. And
He's like,
Rosberg
"Oh,
ripped
going a
Albon's
little
apart.
wide there."
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then Max's lap, he's comparing it to Albon's. He's like, "Oh, he did better than
Oh,
Albon in
yeah.
this section." I'm like,
Yeah.
"This is great. This is
First of all, Max
absolutely
is in a
amazing."
Red Bull.
Yeah,
It's Max Verstappen and like
yeah,
Alex Albon in a Williams. So,
yeah.
but yeah, it was just, I mean, that also wasn't fair of them to be like, let's watch him through this lap. And I a couple of
They do it
weeks
every
ago
week.
they did
They
it,
do
but
it
they
every.
did it. Sometimes they pick on like a Russell
Yeah.
or like, and even a couple weeks ago they did it with Stroll, and I think Brundle was doing it, and it was like Stroll,
Mm,
I think, backed out of the lap. It's
yeah.
like, okay, well,
Well, we can't
we'll
finish
try
that one
another.
then.
We'll try
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, it was
But
that one. Yeah.
yeah, but okay. Dirty Air.
My dirty air. It's easy to pick a bunch of them, and I'm not gonna do the easy ones. What I'm gonna pick on. Oh, and I wish I had it still here. Maybe you have it. I'm gonna pick on Russell. My dirty air. Russell
Hmm.
in qualifying. Russell has a very serious phobia
No.
of rain clouds.
Yes.
He's
He
going around.
does.
He's going. Is Q2? I believe it was Q2 or Q3. And
I think it
he's
was just the
come.
end of Q2.
Yeah, and he's coming around a corner. I don't know if he had finished his lap or whatever. He was on an out lap,
Yeah.
and he says, "There's really dark clouds over turn 13." And Rosberg was like, "Yeah, we see them. They're nowhere near us."
Yeah.
And we see it like when he's got sweat in his visor. He said it several times. Where is it
Yeah.
raining? I see drops. He's got a very real fear, and he's the first one to call out dark clouds.
Always.
I
Yeah.
mean, they're watching the radar constantly. They will tell you when they expect rain and what lap they expect it.
And it's like when you look at the clouds, they are very far into the distance.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I have it here. It's called the fear of clouds, which is what we looked up. I'm like, this is
yes,
George must have the fear of clouds.
yeah.
Is it nephophobia? Is that
Nephophobia.
nephophobia? And
So
he absolutely has
yeah,
it.
so I
He
will
must.
take the moniker of what a nepo baby is, and we're just going to call him the Nefo baby.
The Nepo
Yeah,
baby. Yeah,
that is
I
his
like it.
new nickname,
That
George
I
Nefo baby
Yeah.
Russell.
Every time he comments, we need to like do like a tally of every time he comments on clouds or
Should it be a drinking
rain.
game?
Yeah, it should, honestly.
Yeah.
It
So George
should.
Russell is George Russell, and his fear of clouds is my
His
dirty
fear
air.
of clouds.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've just made him have this fear, but it seems
It's
accurate. So
we didn't make it. He's shown it several times.
um I'm gonna go with the obvious one. I'm gonna go with Max.
Yeah.
He had a great race. This was a really good strategy race for him. We haven't had to we've seen Max come up through the pack, but this was one that's just driving through people. This was one where you saw him doing an undercut. He was playing with McLaren. He was playing with people behind him, which I think was Leclerc or Russell at the time. He just his mind games or Red Bull's mind games was really stressing out McLaren. And it was a really good race for him. And then just for it to end that way just really sucked. And I know it was his fault in the sense that he did the actions, but the lead up to it was nothing he had any control over. And I think it was just that George was just there and the straw that broke the camel's back. And yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't a good look. He doesn't care. He was asked about it. Rachel Brooks tried to talk to him about it and say, is it good for the kids and, to race like this? And he's like, I don't care.
I've got nothing to say about that. Yeah.
Got nothing to say. I'd rather talk about the race. Which, I mean, Nico Rosberg did also say at the end of it, like, we keep dissecting this and discussing it. He's not going to admit that he did it. Or he's not going to admit it that it was intentional.
Yeah.
Just
we know it was.
We know it was intentional. Yeah. We saw what he did.
Yeah.
Let's move on. He's going to get a penalty.
And again, I think they're trying to make more of a thing over it being Russell and Verstappen, which we're past that. And I don't think that was at all.
No, not at all. Anyways, that's it. That's the Spanish Grand Prix and the Barcelona Grand Prix, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And next week we do have a break in terms of there's no race, but we'll be back. And then after that, it's Canada.
Canada.
Our home and native land.
Native land, yeah. I'm not doing the new version of it.
No, I don't even know.
Not even going to sing it. I don't even know.
I don't know. Okay. Anyways, well, we will be back next week, so we'll see you guys then.
Yeah, grab a fresh set.
Bye.